Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this special program. I'm Martin False. I've allowed the school board to purchase airtime on HTV for what I consider a tax proposal coming to you, the voters, on December 6th of utter importance. And the reason I say that is because you might recall in a previous tax effort, the tax failed. It was a property tax effort, and you, the public, did not think a property tax was the right way to go for the Terrebonne Parish school system. Well, they regrouped and they met with the Chamber of Commerce. Remember, the Chamber was against this proposal months ago. Well, now the Chamber has turned completely around, but only after the Chamber formed a task force and did the research to find out if this tax would benefit those in Terrebonne Parish. Jennifer Ormond was the chairperson for the task force to find out about the Terrebonne Parish school system, to look at it unbiasedly, to find out if an increase for the teachers was warranted, but not only for the teachers, for all support personnel in the Terrebonne Parish school system. A tax dedicated only to the personnel, not to be used for anything else. So a lot of meetings have taken place. What have you found through those meetings?
Right. Well, Martin, following the defeat of the property tax in May of 2013, the Chamber initiated an effort to start a public schools community task force to work with the school board and other members of the community to better understand what those needs were for the school system and communicate that to the rest of our parish. So we put together a 14-member task force covering and including residents, members of the Automobile Association, members of the Chamber, members of higher education, a broad spectrum of people representing our parish. The realtors played a very important part. And we pulled these people together, and over a period of, I think, 6 meetings from October 2013 to January 2014, we learned the ins and outs of the school system. And really, to be honest, I'm a parent of 2 parochial school students, so my involvement with the public school system has been very limited. So this task force was eye-opening. What we learned, the information we asked for and that was presented to us by the school system was tremendous, a great learning experience. Through all of this, we determined that the most pressing need in our community was that every student in our school system deserves a qualified teacher in every classroom. And what we were seeing is, due to limited funds, decreased state revenue, increased expenses, the loss of 500 teachers over a 5-year period or so due to regular attrition as well as inability to fill teacher spots, we were not meeting that goal. And the task force determined that having that qualified teacher in every classroom was the highest priority. And so with that, we recommended that teachers, as our most valuable resource, needed additional funds for a raise. They have not received a raise in over 5 years due to limited funding. And with an economy as bustling as we all know we have here in Terrebonne Parish, our school system is actually competing with not just other school systems, but oil service companies and every other kind of business in our parish for employees. And so a higher wage is necessary to attract and retain the quality educators that we need in our parish.
Gail Moore Wesley, what a story. She was Teacher of the Year a few years ago here in Terrebonne Parish. She's been at Montague Middle School for over 40 years. And when you listen to Gail, you can't help get but excited when you listen to her story and what drives her and what has kept her in the teaching profession for more than 40 years. There may be some watching that would say, and let me play the devil's advocate, that would say, why do teachers need more money? They have summers off, they go home at 3 o'clock. Something tells me that you probably haven't been home at 3 o'clock, and if you have over the years, you probably spent most of the night preparing for the next day. Talk about a typical day and a typical summer for Gail.
A typical day, a typical summer, okay, for Gail, or for, you know, more than the majority of the teachers in Terrebonne Parish is education. Okay, when we have our days off, holidays, and also during our summer break, okay, we're in school. We're attending seminars. We're working. We're preparing our lessons for the next school year. Okay, the first day that the school is over, I begin working for the next school year. I try to sign up for every seminar, for every workshop, okay, that Terrebonne Parish School System offer to all teachers. The teachers are, we put enthusiasm into our lessons. We put hope into our lessons. We put commitment into our lesson. And that's everyday preparation for teachers in our parish, because we know that as we prepare our students, we're preparing them to be productive citizens, and we are preparing them to enter the workforce in Terrebonne Parish and in the state of Louisiana.
We all remember those teachers that bled dedication. We also recall those teachers that we said, they're so smart. I wonder why they're not doing something different or out there making a lot of money. Well, one of those teachers in Terrebonne Parish is at South Terrebonne. Chris Brown, an amazing story, served in our military. So why did he decide to do advanced chemistry at South Terrebonne High School? With his smarts, he could have gone anywhere, but he chose to remain in the school system, not making a lot of money. So why did he stay when he could have chosen a job pretty much anywhere he wanted to go?
You gotta get the kids to believe in you. You gotta get them to believe in the subject, which means you got to be really into your subject and passionate about it.
How does it make you feel when a student comes back to you that maybe you haven't seen in a while? And I'm sure with chemistry, there's a lot of doctors, a lot of medical personnel that come back and go, you know what, your class propelled me to my future, and I'm now a doctor here in Terrebonne Parish. How does that make you feel?
Yeah, well, it's an incredible feeling. I mean, and really, we just started the last 3 years with this big push in AP, advanced placement classes, and chemistry being one of them that I teach. And with social media the way it is, you get ex-students who want to friend you on Facebook, so I do. It's to keep in contact with them. 20 years ago, you didn't know what your students did after they graduated, but now it's common knowledge. So I'll just be sitting. I was actually at a football game, South Terrebonne game against Ellen the other night, standing there on the track, and my phone buzzes, and I look down, and it's a student saying, I scored a 94 out of 95 on a chemistry test, thanks. And I'm like, I texted him back, I'm like, why didn't you make the 95? What's wrong with you? You have some kind of problems? But no, it's an incredible feeling, and it's, they're doing well. I know it's our advanced placement that's pushed them over where they're excelling, succeeding, achieving in college. And right now I know I have one student who's working on her PhD in toxicology, I think in West Virginia now, but they're going to learn much more than I gave them, but I guess I can give them the steps to get there.
Philip Martin, our superintendent. Tough job. We all know the superintendent's job pretty much is a thankless job at some points. There's so many things to deal with. The infrastructure, or the lunches all being done on time, or the personnel in the right place. Do you have enough teachers? So many things to worry about. Well, the superintendent's job is tough enough, but add to it the fact that teachers in Terrebonne Parish are 49th out of 69 in the state of Louisiana as far as teacher pay. And it's one of the largest school systems in the state. And yet, the grade averages have gone up in the last few years, from a D to a B-rated school system. That in itself is growth. But Philip Martin, the superintendent, would like to get teachers the pay raise he thinks they deserve. The teachers really become the pseudo-parents and the ones that are going to direct the kids for much of the rest of their life.
The challenge of having 20 to 30 kids, young people at a time, and they're under your direct control and supervision, and making that a productive environment for learning is incredibly challenging. I tell our teachers all the time, what you do, those of you that are good at it, most people on the planet can't do it. Doesn't mean most people are bad people or not smart people. It's a talent, it's a skill that few possess. A teacher who has that ability to manage in a productive way in a learning environment, 25 to 30 young people, 6 hours a day, not just for a few minutes, for 6 hours a day, is truly a valuable, valuable skill. And it's not everyone can do it. Not everyone can be a good teacher. We're very fortunate that 92% of our teachers have been rated as effective or highly effective by the state on the Compass rating system. I knew that already. That was no surprise to me. But teaching is becoming more and more challenging profession as the years go by. There are issues now that teachers deal with that were not a factor years ago. Changing curriculum, changing students. As society changes, anything that changes the society, it reflects in the classroom. They pose unique challenges to teachers, and our teachers find ways. They never stop finding ways to overcome challenges and obstacles to kids' learning to make their classroom a productive one.
If I'm hearing you correctly, we're asking teachers now to do incredible things with children. We're asking them, and we're putting them in a classroom that's a little different than it was 30 years ago. The Leave It to Beaver days are over, so to speak. Kids are smarter, they're shrewder, they're more street smart. So a teacher almost has to be a psychologist along with their teaching degree to be able to reach the children. Yet, by the 92% effective, they're finding a way to reach them. What does that tell us about our teachers?
A teacher has to be an actor, a psychologist, a counselor, have personality that kids can connect to, and there's no one type personality. There are many different types that children can connect to. As I've been speaking to the teachers this year, I say, you know, there are magical things happening in every classroom, in every parish. They truly are magicians. They take it for granted what they do. But you watch an effective teacher in a classroom with 25 kids in an engaged lesson where learning is taking place. It is a magical experience.
Therese LeBlanc, a former anchor here at HTV. She joined the school system. She's been a tremendous story. She went from teacher, moved up quick, and now is the assistant principal at Houma Junior High. She's always been big on the parents getting involved, trying to inform the parents on the education of their children. We sat down with Therese to find the passion that drove her to join the Terrebonne Parish school system, and the passion that makes her stay. You've had a chance to be moderator for different activities and also teach, and now you're in administration. But to watch a kid develop or a student develop in front of your eyes, what does that do to you?
You know, the greatest part of it is the relationships that you build with these kids. For me now, my oldest students are about 30 and 31 years old. So as a teacher, you don't always see the benefits of what you've done until later. And I've had the privilege of meeting up with a lot of my former students and keeping in touch with them, you know, invited to their weddings, learning about their families that they've started, or more importantly, learning that they are contributing into society the way they want to. They have jobs, especially those ones you worry about and they struggle. To see them living the life that they want and then them coming to you and thanking you for it. And I have to say, not all the time did I realize the impact that I had at that time. So I think that's the beauty of it. That's what keeps you going. I think what people don't realize too is, you know, as teachers, you're dealing with kids from all walks of life, different economic backgrounds. Some of our students are going through things that even as an adult, I will never go through, but they come every day and they're ready every day. So it's those relationships that I think are so important.
We also sat down with Melissa Swallow, who's the principal at Broadmoor Elementary. And congratulations to Melissa, as Broadmoor is an A school, quite an achievement. But it's the principals like Melissa and the teachers at Broadmoor who have decided to stay in a school system, although the pay doesn't match some of the other school systems in the state of Louisiana. Teachers could drive a few miles in either direction and find a school system that pays more than Terrebonne Parish. Well, now the voters have a chance on December 6th to reward the teachers. And I say reward the teachers because if you listen to Melissa, it is certainly a dedication that is unequaled when you hear the passion that she talks about her students and her school system.
I just knew that this is what I was meant to do. I do this job because I really want to make a difference in a child's life, and I know the impact that it has on the community. And I really love what I do.
When you were teaching and you would look out in that classroom and you'd see all those eyes on you, how did it make you feel when years later they would come up to you and go, I remember when you taught this or told me this? How did that make you feel?
Wonderful. I met a little guy that I had taught many years ago at Sam's recently. And, you know, they change, but we stay, you know, we just get older. And he said, I remember you. You were my 4th grade teacher. And my husband said, was she good? And he said, she was the best. Wow. And I still use the things she taught me in math today.
Wow.
And so that, it's why we do what we do.
Yeah. There was obviously a passion in you that others saw, that you moved up in the ranks, and now you're a principal. So you look at it differently, but you were where those teachers are now, and you put in a lot of time. I've asked everyone else that sat in the same seat as you, the day doesn't start at 9, it doesn't end at 3. What's a typical day for you?
Probably about 10 hours a day that I work. I usually am at school till 6:30 because every day you don't just sit behind your desk. You're dealing with children, you're dealing with parents, teachers, and ensuring that they're doing what they need to do to engage students and be successful. And so after everyone leaves, that's when I do my paperwork. And then on weekends, that's when I catch up.
Over the years, I've had many opportunities to interview Mr. James Charles. He is certainly a class act. Mr. Charles, you may remember him as the principal of Ellender High School, but he did serve as superintendent of Terrebonne Parish Schools for a short stint. But Mr. Charles is one of those that is really, I guess the best word to describe him would be a realist. He understands students. He understands teachers. He understands the way things are supposed to line up. He is incredible when it comes to assessing situations. And he was a pretty good disciplinarian, but he did it in a different way. So now that he's looking at this vote that will come down on December 6th, He sees it as an opportunity for Terrebonne Parish to understand totally what teachers, administrators, and those in the school system go through on a daily basis. It seems, listening to you, that the amount of money we're asking people to put up and support personnel and teachers is very minimal to what the catastrophic result would be if we don't pass it. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes, it is. I think that this is it's just a step forward, but it is not an answer to all, because there is a lot that is needed within the system. Finance, salaries is one major aspect of it. We have to be competitive. When you can leave here and go 16 miles and make $10,000, $12,000 more than you're doing here, you're not competitive. So you have to be competitive to keep the best. But in saying all of that, you have to recognize the fact that even though our salaries are not competitive, we are somewhere in the neighborhood of 49th in the state out of 74, but yet we are in the top 20 in achievement. We have 8 schools here. We have 7 schools that are 7 that are B schools that we're working at. It does not matter the type of school it is, whether they are high socioeconomically or whether they're low. These schools are performing. So that the teachers are still working as hard as they can work. And I see them every day because I'm still with them. And the school that I'm in right now, I go to the classes every day, and I have not seen a teacher yet slacking off since I've been there.
Mike LaRussa is a real estate developer here in Terrebonne Parish. A lot of you know Mike, very enthusiastic person. Well, Mike was one of those who was opposed to the tax when it was a property tax and it was put in front of you, the public, a few months ago. But now that it's a sales tax and it's a half penny, he was on that task force that the chamber put together. And the way Mike explained it to me is the marriage between real estate and the schools here in Terrebonne Parish and the surrounding areas. One without the other just doesn't work. I know you weren't sold on it right away. You had to do some research and delve into it and understand it. What changed your mind about all this?
I was put on the task force from the Bayou Board of Realty because they came with a 30 mil property tax. And we just thought it was all over the board. And as I dug in, the committee dug into this, one thing we realized that the teachers do need a raise. And we are like 49th in the state in teacher pay. We're always on the bottom of everything good and on the top of everything bad. And we felt as a committee that this is something we could be proud of bringing the teachers to the top third of the state. Mm-hmm. And the few things that caught my attention on there was the revenue streams. There are certain revenue streams, millages or taxes, that are dedicated to facilities only. Some are dedicated to teacher pay, not enough, and then some are dedicated to learning materials and all. So they could be sitting with millions of dollars in the building account that they couldn't pay their teachers with. That was very interesting. So when you see them buying a piece of property or renovating the school, they couldn't use that on teachers' pay. If they wanted to, they couldn't use it. And then one stat really brought up was the oil leases. At one time, we had over $2 million a year in oil revenues. It's down to $87 a year now. So a lot of unfunded mandates we learned about. So the ones that were holding the, you want to call the bucket, was the parish. And they've just been consuming their own money, and we felt the teachers needed a raise.
You can decide on December 6th whether you want to reward these teachers for what they have done for your children. We're hoping this infomercial gave you the knowledge and also introduced you to some of the personnel that makes the Terrebonne Parish school system something worth voting for. I'm Martin False. Have a good night.